Hi students, and welcome to today's live IELTS class. My name is Adrian and I am streaming to you live from beautiful Victoria here on the west coast of Canada, situated on the southern tip of Vancouver Island. I hope everybody is having a great week so far, staying healthy, staying strong and productive. Welcome Ramneek, Varinder, Yuvi, good to see many of our regular students. Welcome to our moderator, Carolina. Nice to have you all in the class. We are focusing on a reading section, and I will give you some tips on how to be efficient to get those Band 9 scores, what skills are needed for that. This lesson is presented to you by aehelp.com. That's academic EnglishHelp.com. For academic IELTS, check us out there. For the general IELTS, check us out at IELTShelp.com. On both of those websites, we have lots of materials, passages for the reading section, as well as for all of the other sections of the exam. We've got interactive courses, and we've got lots and lots of strategies. This is our academic IELTS website here with the blue background. You can click this big red button to join our premium package. It's a one-time payment for lifetime access. And we are an IELTS registration center and certified agents. So you're in good hands with us. Charmin is ready to learn. That's fantastic. We will get to our reading passage in just a moment. This is our general IELTS website here with the green background. Again, click this big red button to join us there. And our reading passage for today is Marathon of Hope, the incredible story of Terry Fox, who is kind of a Canadian, or not even kind of, definitely a Canadian hero. A marathon is a long distance running race, and if you were in the earlier class today, you know that we were doing a writing task 2 about the importance of physical fitness for learning, for education, and also for good IELTS band scores. And with today's topic, we also have this interesting news for you. I've started another YouTube channel. Carolina has been fantastic in helping establish this channel. The channel is called Fun Run. So check out that channel. Excuse me. It looks like this. On this channel, you get to run with me in different parts of the world. So if you have a treadmill at home, or if you like to go to the gym running and you have a TV and you can put on something interesting to enjoy your run, kind of like running in different parts of the world. And what's really, really cool is one of the first runs that's up here is actually called the Terry Fox Run. So when we read today's reading passage, you're going to see that Terry Fox, this very famous runner, his finishing point was actually this run that you see in this video on this channel. So that's kind of a cool connection between today's reading passage and our new channel, Fun Run. So yeah, check that out, okay? All right, let's get back to it. So you'll see it's very interesting, okay? So this is the actual Terry Fox tribute run on the Fun Run channel. Okay, let's get back to our reading passage, our IELTS reading passage, and it's going to make a lot of sense today, okay? Cool, Siphon. I'm glad that many of you have already subscribed. Make sure to keep checking out those videos. They're going to be quite amazing. Okay, so when you're doing your IELTS reading, the very, very first step that you must take is to read the title and think critically about it to predict what the essay or what this passage might be about. So when you read this title, Marathon of Hope, the incredible story of Terry Fox, what do you think this is going to be about? Okay, So a marathon is a long distance race for those of you who are into running. Okay. And when you read a title like this, what do you think it's going to be about? Okay, so step one is read the title of the passage and predict what the information will be. Okay. All right. So just some quick vocabulary. A marathon is a 42.5 kilometer long distance running race. Okay. And when you read Marathon of Hope, what do we mean Marathon of Hope? The incredible story of Terry Fox. What do you think that might be? So it's definitely about a man, right? So Terry Fox is the name of this man, and it's an incredible story, so it's a unique man. What could it be? Hoang Nguyen says, an inspiring marathon story of Terry Fox. Yeah, okay. Why do you think it might be inspiring? And why is it hope? So it's a marathon. It's a 42-kilometer long-distance running race. It's about a famous runner named Terry Fox. Okay. All right. Tirza says maybe it's about his career. Could be. Okay. It's maybe some incredible achievement. Maybe his career. Yeah. Okay. So you start to get some ideas. You start to formulate some ideas about the reading passage. And there is another really important step. It's to visualize. Okay. So make sure to visualize. Let me capitalize that. Visualize the information you read. You should picture yourself as a long distance runner while reading this text. Okay, so involve yourself in the text, engage the text. Okay, Bassem says some kind of unusual achievement. Good, good. All right, so the next step is to take a look at the questions. And the questions will help us to get a little bit more of an idea of what this passage will be about. So let's take a look at these, okay? So here, choose no more than 2 words and or a number from the text for each answer. So here we have a short answer question set. All of this information will be somewhere in the passage. So it is a good idea to read these questions, okay? Just read over them. Don't get too involved before you read the passage. This is just to give you more of an idea, okay? All right, so what city was Terry Fox born in? Okay. What did Terry Fox attribute his survival to? Okay, so he's surviving something. How often did Terry Fox plan to run a marathon during his cross-nation journey? Okay, so cross-nation journey meaning going across the country. Okay. Number 31, while in Quebec, how many people in total lived in the camper van? All right. In which province did Terry Fox receive the most press coverage? Okay, so something about the news and the media as well. Number 33, what medical problem preceded intense chest pain, sending Terry Fox to the hospital? Okay, so by reading these questions, we're starting to get an idea that Terry Fox did some kind of made some kind of an amazing journey. It seems like he had some kind of health condition, okay? And he was definitely getting some media attention, right? So as long as you get this information from these questions, you're on the right track. Okay, so here we have some sentence completion questions. Now, for this type of question, don't read the choices. Okay, so avoid the choices. Just look at the questions because the questions are in the passage. So these three, the first half of the phrase is in the passage. Some of these are not in the passage, so don't read them. They might confuse you. Okay? So number 34, by the time he had gotten to Thunder Bay, something. Okay? So this is a time condition, so obviously something happened here. While he could not continue to run, he hoped for something. Terry Fox's notoriety was increasing as. What does the word notoriety mean? Just a quick pop quiz question. What does notoriety mean? So always collect vocabulary when you're doing your IELTS studies. You should have a vocabulary log that you follow. Notoriety, it's a noun. Okay. And it's not bad influence, Sammy. Arda says it's the state of being famous. Yeah. A synonym for it is fame or the state of being famous. Or the state of being popular. Okay. So fame or the state of being popular, right? That's what notoriety is. And as soon as you catch a word like that in your reading, so when you're doing your reading and you're catching new vocabulary, you should immediately write down the word form. It's a noun. Write down what it means. So fame or the state of being popular, and then you should write down a complex sentence that includes you. Okay, so I will gain notoriety once I run a marathon in less than an hour, as the current world record is just over 2 hours. Okay, so this way you'll remember the new word that you just came across in your reading passage. So I will gain notoriety. So notoriety is something that you can achieve, a state of being popular or famous. So you will definitely become famous or popular if you can run a marathon in less than an hour. At that point, you're in competition with some of the faster horses that live in the world today. So I will gain notoriety once I run a marathon in less than an hour, as the current world record is just over 2 hours, which is quite incredible anyway. Okay. All right. So that's the meaning of notorious. So notoriety, notorious. Learn new words as you're reading. Don't just ignore them. This is a good word to know. Okay, so Terry Fox's notoriety was increasing. All right, and then here we have an interesting kind of multiple choice question. So the writer mentions a number of honors that Terry Fox received. Honors are recognized achievements, okay? Which four of the following honors are mentioned by the author? And then here you have choices. We don't read all of these because there's only 4. And we have lots of choices. So we don't want to get lost in these. Some of these are going to confuse us. They're not in the text, okay? So here's an important tip, everyone. This is an important strategy in the reading, okay? Do not read information in the questions that is possibly not contained in the passage, as it is a waste of time and confusing, such as multiple choice question choices. Okay? Rather, only read information that is in the passage. Okay? Such as multiple choice questions. Okay, that's very important. Keep that in mind when you're practicing that at home. Okay? All right, so those are our choices. We can ignore those. And now we go back and we read this passage, and then we answer the question. So again, visualize, okay, visualize and create an image. Imagine that you are Terry Fox. Okay, everyone, so here we go from the top. Let's read together. This is a reading class, so read with me, okay? Don't just listen to me. That would be a listening class. This is a reading class. And this speed of reading is absolutely okay for the IELTS exam, okay? So here we go from the top. Marathon of Hope, the incredible story of Terry Fox. Terry Fox was an ordinary person, a basketball player and runner from Port Coquitlam, British Columbia. Fox received the news in March 1977 that he had cancer in his leg and it would have to be amputated. Devastating news for anyone. In Terry's mind, he was happy to be alive. He felt he owed his survival to medical advances made in the fight against cancer, and he resolved to live the rest of his life not resentful, but thankful. Okay, so here I stop for a second, I visualize this, and I go, okay, here's this man, Terry Fox. He's an athlete, basketball player and a runner, so he's athletic, he's a sportsman. He has this terrible luck, this terrible turn of events. In 1997, he has cancer. His leg is amputated. That means they remove his leg. Okay, to save his life, they remove his leg. And he doesn't feel horrible about it, but he's thankful that he's able to survive. Okay, so he is an optimistic person. So I keep all of this information in my head. Okay, and I keep going. Here we go. With the help of an artificial leg, Terry ran his first marathon in August 1979 in Prince George, BC. He came in dead last, 10 minutes behind the closest runner. The important result, however, was that he could finish. One marathon was not all Terry had in mind, however. He wanted to run across the country, running the equivalent of a marathon, 42 kilometers, every single day. His mother was doubtful at first. Her sick son wanted to attempt a feat some felt was practically suicide. But Terry would not relent. He owed it to those who helped him, and he owed it to those who would battle cancer in the future to do his part. On April 12th, 1980, in St. John's, Newfoundland, Terry began. Okay, so what is this about? So Terry is an incredible athlete with one prosthetic leg. It means artificial leg. So it's not the biological leg, but an artificial leg. He actually runs a marathon and then decides to run across the country to prove that such an amazing feat can be done. Okay? Hopefully everybody's with me so far. All right. Now, in the IELTS, ideally, for these longer passages in the academic IELTS and the third passage or the section 3 in the general IELTS, you read the whole passage and then answer the questions. Skimming and scanning and searching for answers is not effective. It wastes a lot of time, and there are some questions that are almost impossible to answer doing that, okay? So keep that in mind. Arda says Terry Fox was a very determined person. That's a great word, Arda, for this, okay? All right, so let's keep going. So now we can infer that we're going to read about his journey to run across Canada. And as many of you know, Canada is one of the largest countries in the world. In fact, number 2 after Russia for landmass. So running across Canada is no small mission. It's over 6,000 kilometers wide. Okay, so here we go. With his right leg dipped in the Atlantic Ocean, he collected 2 bottles of water from the ocean. One was to be a souvenir. The other was to be poured into the Pacific Ocean upon the completion of his run in Victoria, British Columbia. That's where I'm at right now. I'm in Victoria, British Columbia. Okay. His goal was to complete the 8,000 kilometer journey while raising $1 for each Canadian. That's $24 million at that time. He slept in a camper van donated by a car company. He ran in shoes donated to him, and he drove on fuel provided by an oil company. He was accompanied by his friend Doug Alward, who drove the van as he ran and cooked the meals for the two. Terry's brother, Daryl, would join them in Nova Scotia. Okay, so we picture this incredible journey starting. He's in a van. He's getting help with food, with gas, with shoes. Okay, so you're picturing all of this as you're reading. Maybe you're a runner. You're running beside Terry Fox. Maybe you are Terry Fox. Okay. All right, so now we keep going and keep reading. So response to Terry's efforts was initially muted. It wasn't until 900 kilometers, 22 days, into the run that people of Port aux Basques, Newfoundland, presented him with $10,000, which was the first big success of the journey. Difficulties were experienced in Quebec as none of the crew spoke French. By the time he arrived in Montreal on June 22nd, the Marathon of Hope had received over $200,000 in donations. It was while crossing the border into Ontario that the fanfare truly began. He met the Prime Minister in Ottawa on Canada Day, July 1st, and met ice hockey superstars Daryl Sitter and Bobby Orr along the way. Media attention was nonstop. Donations were ever increasing. Unfortunately, Terry's health was going in the opposite direction. Okay, so he's running across the country. He's made it almost 1,000 kilometers. He's starting to get some recognition, but his health is not that great. Okay. Outside of a fundraiser mandated stop in Montreal, he never took a day off. He had dizzy spells, shin splints, and cysts on his amputated leg. His endurance was suffering, exhaustion was setting in. Crowds continued to cheer him on, and they continued to run beside him and with him. Thunder Bay, Ontario is where it ended. A coughing fit followed by intense chest pain, and Terry was forced to go to the hospital. The cancer had spread to his lungs. September 1st, 1980, the run was over. Okay, so Terry here running makes it all the way to Thunder Bay, Ontario, which is incredible. Here his health gets really bad. He has to stop running. All right. So let's keep reading. Let's see what happens at the end of this amazing adventure. Terry had raised $1.7 million by the time he got to Thunder Bay. Disappointed he could not go on, he hoped the people of Canada would see his struggle and be inspired to donate. He was right. A Canadian television network organized a telethon in Terry's honor, and in 5 hours, over $10 million was raised. It is a tragic circumstance that Terry's fame and influence was peaking just as his health was about to strike absolute zero. Less than a year later, in June 1981, Terry succumbed to cancer. A nation mourned his death. Flags were flown at half-mast by government decree. Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau the current prime minister's father, right, observed, it occurs very rarely in the life of a nation that courageous spirit of one person unites all people in the celebration of his life and in the mourning of his death. We do not think of him as one who was defeated by misfortune, but as one who inspired us with the example of triumph of the human spirit over adversity. Okay, so very inspirational story. Okay. All right. Today, Terry's legacy lives on. Over 60 countries and 3 million people every year participate in the Terry Fox Run, a fundraiser dedicated to the man who demonstrated strength of conviction and courage of heart. Terry has over a dozen schools, 30 roads, a mountain, and an icebreaker ship named after him. He was invested as Champion of the Order of Canada, the highest honor a Canadian citizen can receive. Terry was the youngest recipient in history. He has 7 statues erected across Canada, memorials stand in St. John's, at the start of his run, in Victoria, at what should have been the end, and in Thunder Bay, where the end came too early. Terry inspired a generation of Canadians and continues today to inspire millions of people worldwide. Terry Fox was an ordinary person, but an extraordinary human being. Okay, so here's a very incredible person who has left this legacy behind and has really inspired many, many people across the world and continues to do so today. So if you decide to move to Canada, you will hear definitely more about Terry Fox, and you might even join a Terry Fox run one day. So now we can get to the questions. All right. So here we go. Choose no more than 2 words and or a number from the text for each. Number 28, what city was Terry Fox born in? Okay, because I read the passage, because I took my time, I know that this information is in the beginning where it introduces Terry Fox. So for this answer, I have to go back to the text and check, but I know that it's in the beginning, okay? And I do remember that it was in the province of British Columbia, okay? So Rashika says it was British Columbia. You're right, Rashika, but be careful because it says in what city, not province. So if you write British Columbia, you'd get that wrong because it's the province. So you're looking for the city. As long as you remember that it was British Columbia, you can go back and then see where it was. So here we go. Terry Fox was an ordinary person, a basketball player and runner from Port Coquitlam, British Columbia. Now that's tricky, so make sure that you look carefully at the words here and spell it as it's written here. So Port Coquitlam, okay? So here your answer should be Port Coquitlam. Okay? That's your answer. All right? Very nice, Nick Hill. Excellent. Okay? Angel, I'm going to give you tips, and I've been doing that all class, so keep following along. Okay. Number 29. What did Terry Fox attribute his survival to? Now, because I read the text carefully, I don't need to search for this answer. Ideally, students, you're not searching for every answer in the reading passage. If you're doing that, it's almost impossible to get a band 9 and to finish the reading on time. In a perfect situation, you have to be able to answer at least half of the questions without looking at the passage. Okay? So what did Terry Fox attribute his survival to? So we remember in the beginning, he had cancer in his leg, which was removed, and he said that he feels that he survived because of this. So what was it? Why did he feel that he survived cancer? And again, for Band 9, Band 8, Band 7 students, you should not have to look for this answer. You should just have it. Very nice, Devon. So Devon says it's medical advancement. Yeah. Yeah, Fadhil says medical technology. Huang says medical advances. Yeah, very good. All of those would be good. Okay, so medical advances or medical advancement, those would all be taken as correct answers. Okay, so medical advances. Very nice. Yeah. All right, number 30. How often did Terry Fox plan to run a marathon during his cross-nation journey? Again, another question where you should not be looking at the text to answer. You should have this in your head. It was very, very clear. Okay? So let me give you a note on this while you give me the answer. This is another strategy. Okay? When you read the text carefully, in about 10 minutes, okay, you should be able to answer at least half of all questions without searching the passage for the right answer. This is key for band scores 7 and more. Okay? All right? So, coming back to this question then, how often did Terry Fox plan to run a marathon during his cross-nation journey? It was a fairly clear piece of information, and they mention it a couple of different times in the passage. Okay? So he's running across the country. Marathon is 42 kilometers, and we can logically figure this out as well. Yeah, very good. Natalie, Nick Hill, very nice. Natalie and Nick Hill say every day. So his plan was, okay, every single day I will run a marathon, which is, even with 2 healthy legs, an incredible idea. I mean, I run 10 kilometers every 2 days, and it's quite an effort. So running 42 kilometers every day is wow. It's just incredible to even think that. But yeah, every day. So every day. Very good. As 2 words, because it's not an adjective here. Okay, so 2 words. Every day. All right. All right. Number 31. While in Quebec, how many people in total lived in the camper van? Again, if we're following this carefully, this passage, we should know this answer without reading. Okay? So they talk about the start of his journey. His best friend was with him cooking meals, and then later somebody else joined him. Ustav says it was 2. Vaishnavi says it was 2. But in fact, it was not 2. Artist says, I think maybe 3. Yeah, because his brother joins them in a province before they get to Quebec, I think in Newfoundland or Nova Scotia, right? So the correct answer here is 3, and you can just use the number, all right? Now, if you're really not sure, you can go back. But hopefully you visualize this, okay? So, okay. So here, and this is why it's tricky, because you have to be a really fast reader if you have to go back and find this. So he was accompanied by his friend Doug Alward, and the 2 of them were in the van, cooked meals for the 2. And then it says Terry's brother Daryl would join them in Nova Scotia. Okay, so it's going in sequence. So here's Doug, and then Daryl joins the crew, and then they get to Quebec later on. So after Nova Scotia, they get to Quebec when they arrive to Montreal. So here there are already 3 people. So Terry, his brother, and his friend in the van. Okay, so a little bit tricky. But again, if you're paying careful attention and visualizing, you should have figured that one out. Okay, number 32. In which province did Terry Fox receive the most press coverage? Again, this should be fairly easy, especially if you know a little bit about Canada. It was very, very clear. There's a couple of ideas that should come to mind here. Okay. All right. Ocean, man, I'm not sure what method you're talking about. So just send me an email and I can probably give you some further clarity. Okay. Utsav, you cannot read aloud in the exam. You have to read in your mind because there are other students there. Okay. All right. Devansh says Ontario. Yeah. Why? Okay. What kind of press coverage did Terry Fox get in Ontario? Okay. So what kind of press media? You should remember this. Let's see who was really paying attention while reading. So what kind of press coverage? What kind of media? Very good, VG. Yeah, Ontario was the province. So we don't need to go back for that. Okay. So what kind of press coverage did he receive in Ontario? And while you're thinking about that, Carolina, could you put up the link to our Fun Run channel? So some students might be able to check out this Terry Fox run when they have a little bit of time. We did a Terry Fox tribute run as well. So, okay. Devon says he met the president. Yeah, it's not the president, Devon. It was the prime minister. Good. And the well-known hockey players. That's right. So in Ontario, he met the prime minister, Pierre Trudeau, the prime minister of Canada, and he on Canada Day, right, which is quite big. And then met some very famous hockey players as well. Okay. Thanks a lot, Carolina. That's awesome. All right. Great. Here, number 33, what medical problem preceded intense chest pain, sending Terry Fox to the hospital? I remember this because I visualized it, but if you must, you can probably search for chest pain in this case. So searching for names or very specific information or certain dates or like a name like Quebec, if you have to search, that's the easiest. Okay, again, ideally you're not doing that. Here I visualize this, so I actually remember what he experienced before the chest pain. It wasn't cancer. Okay, so what medical problem preceded intense chest pain during his run? Wasn't the cancer. Okay. Very good, Nan Hyun. Coughing fit. Yeah, it was a coughing fit. He started coughing. I wonder if any of you visualized that like me. I was imagining Terry running, and then he's coughing, and then sore chest, right? Chest pain after. So it was a coughing fit. Very nice. A lot of you got that. So coughing fit. Yeah, these days that's very scary for people, of course, because of COVID, right? It's one of the very strong indicators of COVID is having that coughing fit, that dry cough. Okay. All right. Again, Charmin, scanning and skimming is not going to be an effective strategy for the IELTS, especially for the academic IELTS. So careful with that. Okay, let's keep going. So good job, everyone, with these short answers. Again, remember, you shouldn't have to search for all of the answers. You should be certain of at least half of your answers if you're going for those higher band scores. If you're searching for every answer through the text, if you're skimming the text hoping to find some keywords, you're going to find that you will be in trouble. Okay? All right. So here we have these sentence completion questions. Now the trick with these types of questions is you want to finish them on your own and then find the match. So don't worry about the choices, okay? Finish it on your own and then figure out what the best match is, all right? So here, the first part is, by the time he had gotten to Thunder Bay, something, okay? So what happened by the time he got to Thunder Bay? Does anybody remember what happened by the time Terry got to Thunder Bay? So Thunder Bay was well into his journey in Ontario. What happened to poor Terry by the time he got to Thunder Bay? I remember this one clearly. Again, no need to search. Okay? All right. So what happened? Tirza, very good. So Tirza Batista says his health got worse. Yeah. So by the time he had gotten to Thunder Bay, his health got worse. Okay, good. Yeah. So you thought about it. You think this is the right answer. Jazz says he succumbed to cancer. Okay, well, his health definitely got worse. Let's look at any of these options to see if they match. Okay, so A, his health was decreasing. Wow, that looks like almost like a perfect match for that answer. So that looks really good. His success would inspire people to run marathons. No, his failure would inspire others to action. That's nothing close to what you thought the answer was, so you wouldn't want to choose that. His cancer was spreading to his brain. Again, that's not the same as this. He was beginning to feel better. That's the opposite. And he had raised almost $2 million. That wasn't the answer you gave. So don't get confused. Okay, don't start racing back to the passage. If you feel that you know the right answer, then stay with that. Okay? All right? And if you're not sure, you can check the passage again. All right? But, okay, I feel like that's right. Okay? And so I'm going to put A for now. Okay? And see what happens, all right? Okay, so I'm going to keep going. All right, so number 35. While he could not continue to run, he hoped something. So what did he hope? So even though he couldn't run, what did he hope for? Deepika, don't worry about it yet. Okay, I'm going to show you something interesting. All right? You're probably looking at an answer key, and that's not a good idea, all right? You shouldn't jump to an answer key when you're studying, students. There's better strategies. Let me show you. So I'm going to pick A because that's the closest match to what I thought, and I'm going to keep going. So number 35. While he could not continue to run, he hoped what? UV, I don't think it was to recover. Okay, I don't think he was hoping to recover. Yeah, Tirza says, so Tirza Batista again says he could inspire other people. He hoped to inspire other people. Okay, sure. So let's see if there's a match for that. So his success would inspire people to run marathons. I don't know about this part because I didn't say that, right? So, his failure would inspire others to action. Maybe, okay. His cancer was spreading to his brain. Definitely not. He was beginning to feel better. Certainly not. He had raised almost $2 million. Maybe not. I think the best answer here is C. So his failure would inspire others to action, not necessarily to run marathons, but maybe to donate, right? So Ocean Man says C it is. So I'm going to go with C. Yeah, C is the best match, right? So I go with C. So be careful with extra information that's false, okay? C is the better answer. Okay, don't get confused by B. Okay, so I go to the next question. Okay, 36. Terry Fox's notoriety was increasing as something. So he was getting more famous as something was happening. What was happening? So how would you complete this on your own? Okay. So how would you complete this on your own? Okay, I'm going to show you something interesting here. All right. So Terry Fox's notoriety was increasing as Arda, very good. So Arda says his health was decreasing. Okay, and this is why it's so important, students, that you rely on your own thinking before choosing answers. Okay, so his health was decreasing. That's A. Okay, well, that's a little bit confusing because A looks like the right match again. But I can't use any question more than once. So this question, if you could use it more than once, it would tell you, you would see something like this. NB, note, by the way, you can use answers more than once. So it would tell you that, but it doesn't say that. So you can only use it once. So now I'm a little bit in a tricky situation because A seemed to be the right answer for this one, and A seems to be the right answer for this one, but I'm sure it's the right answer for this one. So this one becomes a question mark, right? All right, so what do I do now, right? That's a good question to ask. If I get into this situation in the IELTS exam, what do I do? This is where you have to really use your own thinking and you have to take logical steps. Okay, so Natalie says, well, check 34. Okay, so check it. So think, okay, well, if it's not A, then what could it be? By the time he had gotten to Thunder Bay. And I can check number 34 easily because it has this name, Thunder Bay, and I can skim for that name. Okay, so this is where skimming becomes more effective. All right, so now I go back to the passage and I look for the words Thunder Bay. Okay, and there I see it. Okay, so Terry had raised $1.7 million by the time he got to Thunder Bay. Aha, so there's my $1.7 million. Awesome, so I can now go back and now I can look for that answer. I remember there was something about 2 million, so he had raised almost $2 million. 1.7 is pretty close to $2 million, shy 300,000. So that looks good. So now I know that this one here is F. Okay, so Devansh, do you see why I didn't panic and freak out and worry that I got this wrong? Because if I'm being systematic, as long as I'm logical, as long as I'm using my knowledge, my comprehension of the passage, I can still systematically get the correct answers. Okay? F, C, A. Okay? So, does that make sense? Does everybody see how I just calmly, systematically went through these answers? These types of answers are very popular in the reading section, matching the correct ending. Skimming and scanning alone will not be effective to solve these quickly. Okay, so you go through, you think about the answer on your own, you choose the closest match. If you have one where you have the same match over again, then look for a keyword that you can check to make sure what the right answer is. It's the fastest, most efficient, most accurate method to solve that question. Okay? All right? Clear? Okay, so we have a few more questions to go here. Which four of the following honors are mentioned by the authors? So what achievements? Now, This is a little bit of a tough one. We have to figure out what this was. And I remember there was a paragraph that clearly mentions that, okay, well, he was the youngest recipient of the Order of Canada, okay? There were schools that were named after him. I remember that as well, okay? There were some statues that were made in his honor also. So B is certainly one. That was one of the statues, the memorial. Okay. He had the Terry Fox Marathon of Hope named after him, that annual fundraising. So I remember that one was right. Okay. When he passed away, the flags were flown at half-mast throughout the country. So I remember that one. Okay. And then he received the Order of Canada. So this one was fairly challenging. If you don't remember these, this is where you'd have to spend that extra time to go back and check the passage. Okay. So you have to be very, very careful about this. There were definitely some schools named after him as well. You have to check if it was 30 or less. Okay, inspiring millions of people is not an honor, it's an achievement, all right? So this was the most difficult question, these last four. And again, here you have to remember the passage. And if you don't remember the passage, this is where you have to check what it was, okay? So the correct answers for this were B, E, F, and I. All right, everyone. So that is the story of Terry Fox, who is a famous Canadian icon, recognized internationally for his inspirational efforts. And again, if you have a moment, you can check out our newest YouTube channel, which is Fun Run, and it encourages people to go running. And we actually did a video. I filmed a run because I live in Victoria, where I do a run that's a tribute for Terry Fox. It's a short run. It's 6.8 kilometers. And here I'll show you something cool just to kind of put a conclusion to this. There we go. Here, let me just stop it there. So if you ever visit Victoria, here behind me, you can see that statue of Terry Fox. Hopefully everybody sees that. So that is actually Terry Fox's statue in Victoria near the ocean where he was supposed to finish his run. So you can check out this Terry Fox tribute run on our other channel where I show people different runs in different parts of the world. And this is in my hometown in Victoria where I'm speaking to you from right now. So that's kind of an interesting connection there. Check that out. Okay, everyone. So that's it for today's reading passage. Remember these skills, okay? So use the title of the passage to predict. Use the questions to predict the passage. Read the passage carefully. Don't just skim and scan. Really focus to answer at least half of the questions on your own without searching, okay? Always use your thinking before you search, all right? That's it for today's class. Visit us at aehelp.com for academic IELTS and gieltshelp.com for general IELTS. Remember to stay fit, stay healthy, stay strong. That's more important in today's world than ever before. So keep that in your thoughts as you're making your decisions. Mirzan says, that was an inspirational story. Mirzan, I'm really happy that inspired you. Have a lovely day, everyone. I will be back tomorrow with more task 2 for our members, and I believe it will be a task 1 for the academic IELTS. So task 1 essay writing for everyone tomorrow at this time. I'm Adrian. I'm signing out from beautiful Victoria here on the west coast of Canada. Much love to all of you. Take care. Bye.